Hello friends, this is Joseph from HoS Sound. We started HoS Sound with one intention, which is to connect people in the music industry and help artists, promoters, label owners, Spotify curators, and other people who work in the music industry to spread their message and get known by an audience who is interested in that. And as a byproduct, we hope that some of these insights that we share in these chats will help and inspire other of us. Without further ado, enjoy today's guest. Paul and Dave in Art Abstract Division are two prolific DJs, producers, and so much more. Dave not only pursues another job, he also performs masterings for other producers and recently restarted his own label Audiosculpture. Paul is now the working manager of Shelter Amsterdam and also the founder of the label Dynamic Reflection. Even though they both live in different cities, the duo manages to create music together, and with Dynamic Reflection, they also allow up-and-coming artists to release music with the makeshift series The Nursery. And as if this wasn't really enough, Paul and Dave also run their own party Decode in Rotterdam. Their mantra, if you have faith, you know it's real and it will happen. In our highly anticipated chat with the duo, they tell us about the importance of discipline, hard work, and making the most out of every experience, while at the same time prioritizing genuine taste in the music they create, select, promote, and play. In this interview, we also talk about the impact of coronavirus on the music scene for both promoters and artists. And we talk about why running your own label can be a great way to give space to music you like, the role of social media in music, and finding your own success. Enjoy. Thank you again for joining. I know we tried to reschedule it for a while.
Yeah, for ADE, yeah. It took a while. Yeah, sorry, man, for that.
No worries. Like we made it. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Basically, the idea is for people who are like everyone else, like locked in the room, like. How are you doing? You guys approaching your days, your music production, your label work?
Yeah, well, we're home since the second weekend of March now, and Holland is not in total lockdown, but they're speaking about intelligent lockdown, so you're still able to go out to have a walk outside or go have grocery shopping or whatever, but they recommend don't go together or don't go in people's home with friends and still have like a house party or something, because people weren't taking it seriously at the beginning. But nowadays, I think everybody is awake now, and we try to avoid as much social contact
as possible.
So we had do you know this house party app? Probably, right? Yeah. So we had like a digital meeting last weekend with a bunch of friends. Just we're all in the studio, just drinking beer and having fun, but in a virtual way, which was kind of cool. And the clubs are closed, so all the gigs are canceled.
Yeah.
But yeah, on a positive note, like you said, it's also good to finally spend some time in the studio more, because since we both have still day jobs, it's quite difficult for us to find time to go into the studio with the gigs during the weekend. So yeah, getting back on track with promos, because I'm still behind like 400 or 500 promos, and digging into your own vinyl collection for some hidden gems, and finally having the time to digitalizing old records.
So that from that perspective, it's not a bad thing,
No.
You can spend some more time on that.
Yeah, it is.
And also nice to do some chores from at home, which is on my to-do list for ages, like cleaning the basement, for instance, and
Yeah.
Basic stuff, you know.
Yeah. Do you guys share? Do you live in the same place or you live separately?
No.
That's one of the reasons why we can't produce like every weekend or something. Like I live in Den Bosch, and Paul lives in Utrecht, which is like
45 minutes. 45
minutes ride with the train or the car. So our computers are synced to each other. So if he finishes something, I can go on with that, and otherwise.
Yeah, that's a cool thing. So,
so
we can still work on music on the same projects, even if we're not together.
That's amazing.
But we prefer to sit in the studio together.
It works better if we're really together in the studio. So
the flow is different probably. You have the flow is different. You have a better flow.
The flow is different.
Yeah, and sometimes it happens that I work on a certain sound or whatever, or arrangement that Dave doesn't like, or otherwise, you know, and then it's just a waste of time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
it's super interesting. And how do you sync the computers? Do you use Drop?
I can tell you something about that. That's very easy. It's a program called Sync. It's basically a P2P program, and you can choose folders which are linked together. So our plugins in Ableton, they are named the same way. So we share our samples map, our complete Ableton user map. We share our samples map, so everything is constantly updated. So that's why we can open the same projects.
Basically the hard disk is in the cloud, something like that. Or not really in the cloud?
Not really, because it's not in the cloud, but it's constantly updated.
It's syncing with each other.
It's syncing with each other.
Wow. Interesting. I'm going to look it up as well, because then it's super useful when you are...
I can send you the link, because there are more sync programs.
Yeah.
It's a very easy. You have to pay once in a lifetime, like €35, and you're done for the rest of your life.
That's amazing.
So that's... Yeah.
Definitely. Yes.
It's handy because I had a crash in last year, and all the things were still on his hard disk, you know. So it's a special.
He could like copy my hard disk, and he had all the projects back again. So
that's amazing. And do you need to buy also storage online, or it's
no?
Wow.
It's only one runs in lifetime. €35.
Yeah, and you just have to buy a separate hard disk. I think, right?
They're very good, and they update the program like once in 2 months or something. So it's really good service, I think.
Wow. Yeah. It's super cheap.
I will send you the link later. Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. Yes. And amazing. Yes. Moving on to one of the things that links you two together, which is dynamic reflection. How did the label came about? And one thing that might be interesting for the audience is how much do you think is important for an artist to have their own platform where they can release music?
I think I started the label in 2008 when I was working at Triple Vision. Besides my study, because I was studying in Rotterdam, and then I got a job via Bas Moy from Mort Records. He was also working there, and I was just basically working in the distribution downstairs, so packing all the records and stuff, and then put them into the shelves. It was good for your knowledge, you know. You got first pick on the new records, which was great.
Yeah.
And then we started making music in 2011 or 12, something like that.
Yeah.
And at some point it kind of grew organically with Dave and me taking the label to the next step.
It has become very important for us, of course, because it's a home base where you can release on, and
the reason why I started it back in the day was because I felt it was a time during the minimal hype, like the German minimal hype, and there was a lot of hard techno / the Schranz, you know, from Germany with Sven Wittekind, Franke Witta, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't really feel comfortable with both of the genres. So that was the reason why I actually started a label to put out music that I liked and my friends around me liked. So with that in mind, I think it's super important to have your own platform to put out music that you want to put out, and you decide when it comes out and how it sounds. And yeah, nowadays there are a lot of ways, and easy ways actually, now to, as a young or talented artist or producer, to put your music out there. Because back in the day, there was just vinyl, and now it's also possible to start a digital label, for instance, and actually, the vinyl sales is getting more difficult every day. There's still a certain group of people who still want to support the vinyl industry. But even for us, we don't play a lot of vinyl anymore. We still buy it at home, and we like to collect like certain albums or vinyl only release or whatever. But in our DJ sets or if we're touring, we actually don't bring a lot of vinyl anymore.
No, it makes sense. And now being the digital world means also that there's more labels that are putting out music. Sometimes I get the feeling that artists are saying the only way for me to actually get my music out is if I send music to other labels. So they don't think too much about starting their own label because it seems too much work. People are afraid of like nobody will listen.
That's true. Yeah.
I think you need to create a certain following. And my label is now doing 11 years, I think, this year. And when did you start?
I started in 2001.
2001.
Yeah.
But you stopped
because we had some years we stopped, like in 2012, I think. We had 6 years pause. So
But nowadays, if you want to put out your music, it's super easy. You can just start a digital label. And
the only thing is that, or the only thing, because of that, a lot of crap is coming out too, and it's like on the other way, it's good that a lot of people have the freedom to make what they want, of course, but there's a lot of crap coming too, you know.
And there's a lot of different platforms like YouTube, like you said, Spotify, Deezer, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, whatever. You have so many different platforms now where you can share your music with each other. So that's a good development, I think.
Yeah, it is a good development, and it's more accessible to everyone. What platforms or formats do work better for your labels?
We stopped doing SoundCloud or updating SoundCloud with every release because we didn't saw a lot of engagement on that. But I think YouTube is one of the most important for us now, and maybe Spotify is becoming one of the more important platforms, and of course the digital record stores like Bandcamp and Beatport and download and
I think it's very important that it comes there, because otherwise you really have to search on Bandcamp only, and that can be cool, but then you will not have a big reach, I think.
No, it's more for the niche, I think, and for the heads.
And Bandcamp, the Bandcamp is of course very important because I think still a lot of people go there who really want to support you directly.
Yeah.
So
that is super important also because the revenue share is bigger. You see the revenues right away. You see the response of people right away.
But in terms of sales, Bandcamp for us, for our label, it's not that big, to be honest. No. I think Beatport is still the most important one to get revenue from.
Yeah, because of I believe it's because of dance music is Beatport is the leading platform, so people still go there.
Yeah.
I know. To be honest, a lot of people are talking shit about Beatport, but if you're really you can find a lot of old gems, like they are all how do you call it? Digitalized, and you can really find good things if you search for it. So it has a good point too. So
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, it is quite. They do a good job of like flagging a new releases. So like, if you go there and dig there, and every week you find good stuff.
Yeah.
And I know you both have like had released quite a lot of music. Like, how do you approach releases? Do you have a schedule, or you just go with whatever you produce music, and when you feel it's good, you release it?
Honestly, we used to have a kind of a strict schedule, but because of the work overload we both had with our day jobs and playing every weekend and trying to make music during the time, it got a bit how do you say
Overwhelming.
this? Overwhelming.
Yeah.
We didn't pay the attention it needed to the label, I think. So at this point, it's more like if we have a release ready, we send it to the mastering. When it comes back, we upload it to the Triple Vision server, and they tell us when they can release it. And it used to be quite close to each other, and now there's more in between, like every 2 months or something, like that.
Yeah.
Luckily, we have the privilege that every track we made will be released on something we never have, or we maybe we had 1 or 2 tracks which are never released.
Yeah, but I think you also mean in terms of releasing music from other artists, right?
Oh yeah, both from your schedule and also from other artists.
Yeah, I think it's also as an artist for us that we know a lot of people over the years, and it's for us it's easier now to release our music because we have a direct line with certain labels or certain artists. But I remember back in the day, if you wanted to put your record out or get a record released, you really sometimes you send out like 10 demos and you didn't get any feedback from anyone,
Yeah.
And
well, that has changed luckily. So.
Yeah. For us now, if we look at Dynamic Reflection, our demo inbox is just like stacked with good music.
Yeah.
But also some shit music, and it takes a lot of times to pick the cherries from the cake,
Yeah. Do you accept unsolicited demos? So someone that sends you a demo just to your email, or you prefer to ask people to send you demos?
We have a demo inbox.
Okay.
So we have a demo address, and we try to keep up with it, but it's almost impossible. So actually, we spoke about this yesterday, and we have still like almost 1,000 demos to go through. So yeah, it's crazy.
And on your question, because I'm still quite a lot on Facebook and especially on Messenger, I do get a lot of people who send demos via Messenger because they have a directly answer, or like so. Most of the things I will send to Paul if it's interesting.
Yeah,
on my own label too, by the way.
Dave does most of the shifts, and when it's really good, he shares it with me and says, "Hey, Paul, this is a good demo. Check it out." And then we both together we decide if we're gonna release it or not.
Yeah. When you get let's say a piece of good music, do you consider other factors when you want to sign the music? For instance, how big is the artist, what kind of person they are?
No,
purely music.
Not anymore.
Totally.
No.
Totally.
We used to do it in the beginning because we saw it back in the sales. If we released a record, a vinyl record from a young talented artist which didn't have a proper profile yet, we didn't sell the record. We only sold like maybe 100 copies. And we pressed like 350 copies. Then we have a backstock of 250 copies. So that always costed us a lot of money. But now, especially with the nursery, we don't. If it's good, we don't care about the profile. It's about the music.
In that way, it has become a bit more fair because we release music we really like, and
which is when we would play in our own DJ sets. That's probably the most important rule for us. If we would play it in our sets, it's good enough to release. But in terms of quality, we put the bar a bit higher now, because also in terms of mix downs and stuff, it took in the beginning Dave was helping out with mix downs from talented artists who are not that experienced in that
Corner.
in that corner.
Yeah.
So now if the mixes if the tracks or the concepts are really good, they can have another chance to
Reset the mix down.
resend the mix down again and try to have another look on the mix. And if it comes back and it still sounds shit,
Then we
probably decline in it. But usually the second time it's always getting better, and then 9 times out of 10 or 8 times out of 10 we sign it.
Yeah. Which is great. So you essentially made it more fair for people, like even unknown artists.
Yeah, because also
for sure
we know how difficult it was to get your music signed back in the day.
Yeah.
Nowadays it's different for us, but like 8 years ago, it was super difficult to get your music out there. So
and if you're honest, it's amazing how many good producers are out there. Like your young kids or younger kids who really have so much talent. So it would be stupid to give that not attention.
Yeah.
Really great.
And it feels good to because we have a very good promo list built up over the year, and it feels good to give these young talented artists a proper platform that the big DJs are playing their tracks, which is amazing, of course.
Yeah, it's amazing for them as well, because it encourages people to I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of artists who are good or can be very good, but maybe nobody cares about them and they eventually drop it. But by doing this, you allow them, you give them a platform, you encourage them you give them some attention, some help, and you encourage them to keep going.
Yeah, it feels amazing, man. If you see, we sent out a promo from a young talented artist on the nursery, and you see a movie of Rotat is playing it on Awakening Festival, something like that. How cool is that?
It's super cool, yes. Yeah. I'm sure it's super useful for them. They feel appreciated. They feel like someone is really caring about them. It's great, yeah.
Yeah, that's the point, right? Sharing music with each other.
Yes, amazing. Really good to hear. And I know, so you are a duo, a producer, artist duo, but you also have your own unique jobs. So Paul, you are the booker of Shelter Amsterdam. And I'm going to ask the same question to you, Dave. Paul, how do you split your time? Because now you have kind of 2 full-time jobs, if not 3.
It's just super difficult. It's getting more difficult every week, to be honest. Also, I'm getting a bit older now. I'm 35, and actually, I'm thinking about this every day, how to keep it up, because there's so many projects in there. I have the label. We want to make music. We're DJing. The job at Shelter, and all the things are so time consuming that it's super difficult to try and focus on all the different projects. So I think at some point I need to decide to cut down one of the projects, like maybe Shelter or maybe even DJing. I don't know.
Yeah, it becomes too much. And
it's a constant struggle for years already. Yeah. So yeah.
It's a hustle for a lot.
Yeah, but when you were younger, you had more energy, and you can go all out 3 days a week, for instance, during the weekend, and on Monday you were still fresh, And now if we played in Italy, for instance, and we did another festival on a Saturday, then on Tuesday I'm getting a bit okay, I'm feeling okay again. On Wednesday we're 100%, and then on Thursday the whole circuit starting again, So and it's a constant evolving struggle every week. So
yeah, and plus not even accounting for relationships,
of course, the usual things. We both have girlfriends, so
we live together with our girlfriends. So in terms of socializing with your friends and your girlfriends is also
but it's, to be honest, it's almost impossible. You have to sacrifice some things,
Yeah. And it's super tough. And Dave, you run the label, you produce music, you DJ.
Yeah, well, I do a lot too. I took even a daytime job with it, not the whole day, but a part-time job. But I really have to do this because I want to be sure that I have enough money to pay the rent and to buy things and to go on vacation sometimes. Next to that, I do a lot of mastering for the last years. And that's really going great. So that's another thing I earn money with, which I'm really happy with. But it's a bit the same as Paul said. You really have to balance everything, and you don't have as much energy you had before.
Yeah.
Maybe the difference with me is that to be honest, I'm always busy with music. I really like 12 hours a day or something like that. It's mostly always connected with music. So for me, maybe it doesn't feel really like a job, but of course it costs a lot of energy.
Yeah, but for me it's the same thing, in terms of being a booker for Shelter. It's still connected with the music industry, but it's on a total different level because it's not very creative level. It's more business level, and you have to deal with politics and business meetings and budgets and there's so many bullshit
that doesn't feel creative. I think
no.
much creative.
And there's more people involved in the decisions, more heads.
Definitely, yeah.
Probably more. It's probably harder to run it because you have rent to essentially to pay. You have a lot of money to on the line every weekend essentially.
Yeah. It's a big responsibility, which is cool at the other hand, but on it's also stressful at the other part.
I can imagine. I mean, it's a lot of work,
especially for you because you are really have a lot of responsibility as a booker, of course.
Yeah, and I'm a perfectionist as well, which is also not ideal.
It's great, but it doesn't help. Sometimes it doesn't help.
No, it doesn't. It surely doesn't help. No, for sure.
Yeah, and so just to cover it, talking a bit about your booker work, like what do you look for when you look for artists that you want to book?
My job is to get the club full every weekend, and we don't run a techno club. We run a underground techno and house club, but it's based in Amsterdam. And in Amsterdam, you have a lot of politics going on because you have like a lot of big players, big promoters like Awakenings, Digital. You have another big club, the school, of course. You have Dekmantel, and to be honest, the big promoters are controlling the market. So for me, the biggest achievement is to get a proper lineup within the exclusivity periods and stuff, which makes sense. And on Friday we do usually techno, and on Saturday we usually do house. But with all the external factors, it's super difficult to get certain artists inside your club, even if you're a well-known, internationally loved club. It's not like that everybody wants to play for Shelter, or maybe they do want to play a Shelter, but they're not allowed to play at Shelter because they're playing Awakening or they're playing Digital, So there's it's also kind of a big struggle to make it work, and you have to. In that point, you have to be very creative to make sort of lineup between. Like you also always need one big headliner every weekend, but it's the how do you say that? Wait.
Challenge.
Yeah. No, the biggest challenge is, I think, to make it like a good I would say story, but I mean I always try to look for a young talented local to warm up the floor, then put an interesting upcoming artist into the middle or something, and then put the headline on the closing slot or on the primetime slot and something like that. That's usually something I try to achieve every weekend.
And regarding our Decode parties, it's a bit different because there we can program a bit more what we really both like.
Yeah.
Of course, we still have to keep in mind that the people are coming, but we can a little bit do more our own thing.
You have to, as a promoter, sometimes you have to book stuff you don't like on a personal note. But what makes a good booker, that you know how to make a creative program and balance it out between like AAA headliners, which they're gonna sell out the club and they're gonna pay the bills. But next to that, you also have to give some upcoming talented artist or new refreshing artist a stage to develop themselves. And I think the combination between that is the perfect combination.
Yeah, and it's hard work. It's not easy because you need to. Sometimes it's very little, and then the club is not full enough. You lost money.
Especially in Amsterdam, it's a small country. Most of the important clubs are within a reach of 1 hour or maybe 90 minutes. Right? Utrecht, Rotterdam is still quite close. The Hague. So you're constantly dealing with exclusivity periods.
Yeah. And I mean it's pretty packed the whole year with festivals, with
it's insane. Every year it's getting worse and worse.
Insane.
Well, not this year.
No.
Yes.
I don't think there won't be any summer festivals this year.
No, I don't think so.
It's crazy, like now that we're touching on COVID and the current situation, like how did your life change in the last months? Like let's talk about from the promoter perspective, for instance, with Decode. I guess you were planning parties for the next 6 months.
We had our actually this weekend. The 4th of April would be our next Decode event, which we didn't announce. So we announced it, but we canceled it. Yeah. And the next one would be on the 13th of June, and we already canceled this one as well because the clubs are closed until the 1st of June now. So basically, for Shelter, I canceled all the events until the 1st of June. But to be honest, I don't think it will happen until September, something like that.
It's crazy to think about it, but I think it's realistic. Really silly. We're not going to be open.
And also, if the situation is under control, it wouldn't be very responsible to go out with all like different nationalities, and you know how it goes when people use drugs or alcohol. They're getting less responsible, and to be in a club or on a small space with thousands of people,
that's ridiculous.
It doesn't feel very responsible at this point. So
it's tough.
We have no idea, man, what's gonna happen in the next few months.
It is very tough, so that's the booker perspective, and from the artist perspective, how much has you basically had a lot of gigs that were cancelled?
A lot of gigs. We had a really good time coming up, so
also, like,
it's really sad to see.
The saddest thing for me personally is like we played Awakenings quite a lot, but we never played the Gas Holder, which was on my list for ages on my bucket list. It was on top of my bucket list to do.
But my only wish is that like we will somehow make the best out of the situation, meaning that we use it to.
Yeah, maybe things will change after this. I don't know.
Yeah,
hopefully. Changing topic a little bit, moving away from this. One of the things like that I think keeps coming up in people's mind is the social media. How do you think social media is affecting the way people, let's say, promoters make booking decisions, or labels make demo decisions, or artists eventually get gigs?
I think nowadays your social media presence is even more important than the quality of the music, which is insane. But I think it's true. It's a fact.
Yeah.
You know, people who are coming into the scene like 2 years ago, they can blow up because of social media or some sort of hype. Like I think Peggy Goo is one of the best reasons, or one of the best.
Can allow you in some cases to skip some steps, so you go faster to you become, let's say, known much faster if you have a good presence.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And in terms as a promoter, I even caught myself doing it as well. Checking how much likes on Instagram or Facebook someone has. Especially in terms of billing or so, you're always fighting with agencies about the billing, and sometimes I even caught myself doing it the same way that I'm looking on their social media page and to see how big their profile is and how big their reach is. So yeah.
So I think that a lot of promoters are looking at those profiles and.
I had a discussion with an agent, I think 2 years ago or something, and he literally told me, but he has to be above this certain artist because he has like 150,000 Facebook likes. And I was like, what the fuck are you saying? But now 3 years later, I even caught myself doing the same thing, which is crazy, but yeah. But honestly, on a personal note, for us, I think we are a bit too old school to
really go
dive in deep into it, because sometimes if you see how the kids use social media, it doesn't feel very comfortable for us, and sometimes it's necessary to push certain boundaries, but I don't know. We know it's necessary.
We're not the types who can post every week 3 selfies or something like that.
No.
This is ridiculous.
Also, that kind of stuff.
It's too far away from the thing we think is the most important thing, and that's music.
We sound pretty old now, right?
No. I think I'm using social media quite a lot. I discovered also for myself. Yeah. I did a daily vlog every day on last February. And the idea was, let me discover...
Vlog or blog?
Yeah, like vlog. So one video, 1 minute of where I was saying, this is what I'm doing today. It was predominantly about music, but also how I was feeling, I was struggling and stuff. And what I figured out...
That's something I couldn't do, I think.
It's personal. And I think we get a lot of pressure because it seems that like we all need to be doing the same thing. But I don't think that is necessarily true. And what happened with me is that I realized... I'm investing one hour roughly per day just to make a video, because to think about what you're gonna say, how you're gonna shoot it, and everything, which I could spend in music. And for me, it was like, okay, I don't know if I really want to do this. Like,
it also takes a lot of time, about thinking about the content. When would you post the content? How does it look? You probably have to edit it a little bit. All these little things takes a lot of time, because for instance I did a cooking video last Sunday on my personal Instagram, just for friends. It took me like more time to upload the whole Instagram story and editing all the videos than it took me to cooking the dish and eating the dish, So I understand how much time consuming it is to do a vlogging or something, if you would do that on a daily basis.
Yes, and then is more what you were saying, Dave, is like, okay, should I do music with the hour per day, or should I do one video? I don't know, it depends.
I prefer to put my time in music than instead of social media, but honestly I think nowadays it's more important to do it the other way around. But for us, it doesn't work like that,
Yeah, but of course we do some things on social media, but I think we could we
limit it. We limit it. We don't post every day something, I think we should.
I think too.
To keep up with the rest, but we don't do it.
Yeah. So let's say for an example, like there is someone in your same mindset that says, okay, I don't want to do social media every day. I know it's important, but it's not me. It's not my personality. What advice do you think you would give them, like to be a bit more chilled about social media, or be like, okay, you can still find your audience without social media?
Well, you know what the thing is. I think like not every person is the same, of course. Some people are more comfortable to show themselves to the world or to make videos of themselves. But if you're not that kind of person, then maybe it feels forced what to do. It's. I think it's really difficult for some people.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I think if we look at the content we shared in the past, or if you look at the success of people who are successful in social media, the power of the success is in the reality of the person behind it.
It has to be
So
real.
it has to feel real, and people need to have some sort of connection and trust in that this is he's acting now or she's acting now the way he really is in daily life. So if we would hire someone to do all this shit, I don't think it would make any sense. I think maybe 25% of it can be done by someone else, but the other 75% should be done by ourselves, because otherwise people would notice, like, hey, this is not how they are or something.
It's different. Yes. For people who don't want to use social media or want to limit the social media, what is a good way for them to still reach their audience if they make music?
I don't think people can keep up and stay in the business without social media, because if you look at Function and Regis, for instance, they decided not to use social media, and they saw their gigs going down and down and down. And now I think Function started getting back on social media again now. I think because also his agent told him to do, like, hey, dude, you need to go back on social media, because otherwise I can't sell you anymore or something.
Yeah, I'm sure, but that's
So I don't think there's a way to express yourself and keep up with the.
There are a few exceptions, like Helena House, but she's really one of the
Devious One, probably Devious One.
Yeah. So I think you really need social media.
If you reach a certain level, maybe you're allowed to skip social media, but I'm getting a call that I need to take. You can.
No worries.
So
Thank you for that.
No, I can talk with you a little bit.
No, thank you so much. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, pleasure. And yes, I mean, we're gonna wrap up very soon. So one thing, I'm just looking at the questions that would be very interesting.
Yeah.
So one thing that I have two more questions, and then we're wrapping up.
Yeah. Go on.
One is that, like, so you guys are a great example of two that people that really like music. You do the best you can to make it work. People who are starting off, and how can they make it possible financially? Like, because gigs are very hard to support your lifestyle, to help you pay the rent for a long time. The label is
from my perspective, I would say you need a certain kind of self-reflection. So that you see where you are exactly at the moment, at this point in your life, with your career. Most important thing is really, I always, I'm a bit different as Paul. Paul is more rational. I'm more intuitive. I'm working almost everything I do on intuition, So I think if you really live on your intuition and your passion, and you have enough self-reflection that you will see that you will get there, then eventually it will happen.
Amazing.
It's a bit the other way around. I think if you really have faith in your thing, what you are doing, and it's real and it's something different as other people, I think you will get there then. And I will talk for Paul. Paul will say that you have to have a lot of discipline, work hard on it, be creative, and always try to get the most out of everything, which
is a great piece of advice. And I think what I also get from your words is also that the key is like persistence. Like you need to keep going at it, and if you have faith, if you believe it.
For sure. That's maybe interesting to say. I don't do this because I want to earn money. I do this because I love to. I need to do what. I need to be creative. I need to share. I want to share it with the world. I want to make people happy with my music and with my sets. And okay, I'm earning money with that. That's the result of it. And of course, that keeps me going in that way too. But the first thing is to express the creativity, and to do your thing. And
very inspiring.
Yes.
Yeah, it's. I'm really happy that we spoke about this because I think it's going to be inspiring for other people as well.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
And yeah, of course.
And last question. So, if you were to give one piece of advice to, or give a skill that you've learned over time to someone who is on their path, what would that be? Think about them as if they were an hypothetical children that you have at some point.
Well, I can say two things about that. One is the main thing. I think I watched a lot of other artists, but more like the techniques they are using, and from that I learned a lot, like watching how other people things do. But it's not really copying, but it's more getting some rules how you can do things. I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying.
It does, yeah.
If you know the technical rules about something, how things work with producing or DJing, then and if you convert that to your own soul or your own passion, and make your own story about that, I think that's the most important thing to do. Like I see so many producers who only copy a certain kind of sound, and then they think, okay, now I will make it because I'm copying that. No, that's not how it works. It works the other way around. I think you have to let your personal soul or feeling has to be, the number one. And you take certain things from other people maybe, or other artists, but it's always maybe do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So essentially you watch how things are done by other people, you learn from that, and then you reinterpret them, you make them your own, and you make it
exactly. And don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone, or I think it's very important, because there's so much music which already sound like it has been made before. When I'm making music, I always try to make something what has been made before, So,
which is is a good way to actually create something new for real, because you're trying to deviate from what existed in your way, and you develop.
Of course you have some rules. You have to, like if you make a dance track, it has to have beats or hi-hats or whatever, but still I think for the future, I think it's very important that there will be a lot of that producers are there who will expand the borders, to break the borders even, because I think a lot of music sounds like each other nowadays, but I think that will happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Like our Rose to Given, for instance. Which is really an artist who breaks the boundaries, I think.
What's the name again? Rose?
Rose.
Rose. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Very interesting.
So don't be afraid to break the boundaries, and get inspired by other people, but mainly by yourself.
Makes sense.
Okay.
This has been like a pleasure to have you, Dave, and thanks to Paul as well.
Thanks for having us. I think he has an important call from his shelter. So, thanks for having us.
Pleasure.
I'm glad we could make it finally. So,
our pleasure. Thank you so much for making it. Any projects that are upcoming you want to draw attention to?
Oh, yeah. We we work. We have a lot of tracks who are almost finished, so we can use finally the time to finish them. we will do a remix for Below Service. I don't know if you know the artist.
Mhm.
It's a quite underground artist from Germany,
Uh-huh.
but we really like his music, so we want to provide him with a remix. Why not?
Sounds great.
So,
Mhm.
yeah, and we are working for some label. I can't tell the names now, but they have asked if we can make a release, so we will try to do that in the upcoming months.
That sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah, we have like 15 tracks ready, so almost. So we there's a lot to come.
Yeah.
There's a lot to come.
Looking forward to hearing more, and I'll ask you separately the links to all the social media so you can post everything.
Yeah.
Great to speak with you, and hope to see you in person at some point soon.
Yeah. Okay. That's for sure that will happen. Okay.
See you later.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ciao,
Bye.
ciao.
Bye.